and we're going, and that's it. And I got a screen you can't see. You'll have to see this in the post-production, but everybody else could see this for a second. You just get to listen for 30 seconds.
Okay.
Who's a big nervous guy today? He's a big nervous guy today because we have a Skype interview.
Oh, man.
He's nervous. He's so nervous. We got approached by somebody from the History Channel in regard to
actually not the History Channel. It's a
History Channel.
It's a production company.
Well, they're going to pitch it to the History Channel about having him and I host a TV series for weaponry and whatnot. So he's nervous, and we thought we'd have everyone know he's nervous. He's freaking the bad.
Silverback gorillas bullshit.
Wish us luck, guys. That was May 16th, 2016, and that's the last time you and I ever did a video together. And that pilot shit fell through. We never got it. We never got the, I don't even think they gave a common courtesy phone call of saying, hey, we didn't pick up your show or whatever. But Lenny Sly and me, we're doing a podcast episode together. What's going on, man? It's been about 10 years.
Yeah, it has. It's coming up on 10 years. It's life is crazy, dude. Life is crazy. It's I don't even know where to begin.
Well, we're going to get right into it. So we're going to have conversations for the people who are new to the channel, for the people who are seasoned to the channel, and everybody who's been asking me for the last several years, where's Lenny, what's he doing, and why the hell haven't you guys had a conversation? I called Lenny last night. Lenny called me back. We had an hour and 2-minute conversation on the phone. And we'll get into the history and all that kind of stuff, and we have a big conversation today. We're going to talk about Lenny and me, what happened, where we're at, martial arts, all the good stuff, and we're going to move forward from there. So for new people, Lenny and I met actually in 1996. That's when we met. We didn't know each other
earlier than that.
No, because I wasn't 21 yet. I was 21 I turned 20 in 95. Yeah, and then 21 in 96. And Lenny we're relatively the same height. He's taller, but back then he was a monster to me. And Lenny was a doorman at a very aggressively violent nightclub that we had in the Chicago suburbs. And I knew of Lenny passing by. If anybody knows Lenny, you look at him and he's got the male version of a resting bitch face. You don't talk to him, you don't come up to him, but at the same time too, you talk to him. It's like, this guy's fucking nice. Holy shit. And I bumped into him years later in 2003. I did a Super Cop boxing tournament, and Lenny was whatever their equivalent of the intermission and halftime was doing this Aikido demonstration, and I'm watching going, why does this guy look so familiar? And after he got done, he's throwing guys around the ring and all this stuff, and I'm like, dude, I knew you years ago. We worked at this bar. I worked there after you, and blah blah, and that was it. We touched base. We said hi. You were very pleasant and polite to me, and that was that. In 2015, we reconnected again because I started doing a series of martial art videos, and I didn't have anybody who had done Aikido before. And I went, oh my gosh, I know somebody. We went to your school. It was the first time you and I had really had a conversation ever. It was an instant wow, I was beyond impressed with the skill set. And we grew in a martial arts relationship, and we grew in a friendship, and next thing you know, we're coexisting in a gym space together, and the next thing you know, we're cultivating a brand together, and the next thing you know, it implodes, and it just went to bed, and it went shit to bed. I did a video not too long ago that I owned up for the shit that I did, and I told Lenny last night, it's like I don't want either one of us to be I was at fault, and anybody saw the video, Lenny was pouring his heart and his soul out into a gym that we had together, and motherfucker, it was fantastic. But my headspace wasn't right there, so we separated ways. It was kind of like a bad animosity for a while, or perceived
for years.
Yeah,
for years it was.
It would have been 10 years next May. Not this. Well, no, yeah. Yes.
Well, when I left was August.
Yeah.
Of
2016.
Yeah. Yeah,
2016. That's when you left, and then I I'm stubborn as shit. I went my own way. I closed down my school, my gym. I stopped teaching, this and that. And I'll tell everybody too, because I love being transparent. I had very selfish intention last night. I called Lenny because I want to start doing more wrestling stuff for the content for the channel, and I needed a place that had mats, and all the wrestling gyms are too fucking wishy-washy to have me out. So I'm like, I'll call Lenny and see, are you open to it? And it turned into this insanely incredible conversation. We had so much common ground, commonality. I said we need to have a discussion on. So it's good to fucking see you. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Like I said in the beginning, a lot has gone on. It's going through a lot of shit right now. I've been going through a lot of shit. The past several years have been. I can't really say anything really bad about the past 5 years that wasn't really a lesson in life. You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot over the last 5 years and what I was doing and what I was involved in and whatnot. And I'm very thankful for those times. I have fantastic memories from those past 5 years that I will never forget. People that were in my life back then, I held very dear to my heart and loved very much. And it's just life goes on and things didn't work out, so I moved on with my life. And it's been trying. It's been very trying at times, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I haven't done anything on YouTube in 7 years, and I would be lying if I was saying that I wasn't nervous about doing this right now, because dude, we can go back to the very first time that when we started doing when you were doing YouTube videos and you're like, hey, you want to come onto my channel? And I'm like, dude, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Are you kidding me? It's like, dude, I'm gonna shit the bed on this one big time. And Dominick was holding his camera, and he's like, okay, ready? On 3, 2, 1, action, go. And I just sat there and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I don't know what to say. Is there do I have to come up with an intro? I mean, we're here at the Izzo's Warrior Academy, so you want to announce that? He's like, yeah, just do that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, am I allowed to swear on this? And he's like, fuck yeah, you are. Dude, swear all you want. It's all about, controversy, and that's what's going to sell. And, anytime anybody's ever asked me about how I started YouTube or what I did and so on and so forth, I always, regardless of the situation that was going on between you and I, Dominick, I always told everybody, you are 1,000% responsible for my everything on YouTube. And it was crazy, because you think that's 2015, I started filming videos, and I'll just never forget that day. We can go back to that same location. I can stand in the same exact spot where I was standing.
At an angle by the doors, and you're facing me.
With the mirrors in the background.
Got the camera, and it was... I use you as the example every time somebody's like, I want to do a podcast or I want to do any type of stuff online. I'm like, and I explain, I told Lenny, I said, all you got to do is be yourself. And we probably got through 2 minutes of your first content. We're being very stiff. And I went, man, just be you. And I will take credit for it, but at the same time, you just completely came to life, and your content was extremely successful in educating people on martial art because of how you did it. So our goal is to educate people. You can only do that if you engage them. You can only do that if you entertain them. So you captivated people by the throat when they first got on your video. You mastered the elevator pitch in 2 seconds. People were like, damn, I'm sucked in. And that was it. And there was no learning curve with you. It was instant. It was absolutely instant.
And how many takes did we do?
That one.
It was one. Nothing scripted. None of my content has ever been scripted. It's really never been rehearsed, to be quite honest with you. It's like if I was doing a particular technique for a video for YouTube, I would grab my senior student Rod DeMessa, and I'd be like, okay, let's just walk through just the technique. Not even do it. Let's just walk through it. And excuse me. And my cameraman was another one of my senior students, and he knew exactly where it was going because he knew the technique, So it's like I had the perfect cameraman because he knew exactly where it was going to start and where it was going to end. So we would just do 1 or 2 walkthroughs from it, maybe a different angle, maybe switch sides, and then it was You know, 3, 2, 1, action, go. I waited for the little red light on the camera to light up, and it was YouTube, Lenny Sly, Road Warrior Training Compound here in Gilbert's fucking Illinois, and it just took off. And I just talked about what we did and demonstrated the technique and went over, you know, points on how to do the technique and what to do and what not to do and, you know, things like that. So I don't know why it became really easy for me to do. I mean, dude, there were times when I was pumping out 3, 4, 5 videos before I even did class on a Saturday or Sunday morning, you know, when I had an online class platform. And it was just super, super easy to do. And I have you to thank for it. I mean,
I appreciate that.
And here's the thing. Let me say, anybody that gets in front of a camera with Dominick Izzo behind it, okay, just take note of this. You're going to be shitting your pants in about 2 seconds flat because you got this guy, okay? The way how his demeanor is, I'm talking about you, Dom, the way how you are, your demeanor, just everything about you, your character. And it's like you have Martin Scorsese behind the fucking camera. Who wouldn't be shitting a brick with that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was like, literally, I was like, oh my God. It's like, how the fuck am I going to pull this off? You know, but it's like, but the one thing that was really cool is that when you just said, just be yourself. And
yeah,
that's kind of like when it clicked, and
yeah,
the rest is history.
What was a testament to your ability was when we joined on the YouTube channel, it took off, right? It exploded.
Yeah.
And it moved more. What was a testament to your individual skill set was when we parted ways, you started your own YouTube channel and that fucking skyrocketed. So you had already had a base under my stuff. And then when it went to the individual route, you had to start over. And it was an instant. I mean, I think you're close to 80,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And people they're still in my DMs and in my comments going, what happened to Lenny? Where's he at? What's he doing? I want to ask a question about specifically your intent versus the route you went, because when you first, a lot of people don't know, you're extremely well tactical in, I would say, like combatives, law enforcement content, military content. I mean, shit. With the state of where cops are today, they fucking suck. If I had to go clear a building, you know, I wouldn't go to a cop. I'd go to you. So you know your weapons inside and out. And when you first started content, that was your goal. You wanted to do a lot of content-based, defensive tactics, combatives training, almost like a generic type of thing. Ultimately, because we were back in the age and the era of MMA being dominating anything, and people really didn't like traditional martial arts, you started teaching Aikido, and then you started like donning the uniform, and people gravitated towards that huge. And the next thing you know, you are changing the face of Aikido. That wasn't something you planned. Did you begrudgingly?
No, it wasn't.
How did it happen? And did you did you enjoy that path?
Well, originally when we first started doing videos, my mindset was the combative concept stuff. Okay. I was really like trying to focus on a brand like that. And and then one day I'm like, you know what? I'm like, why don't we do a video on tension Aikido and see how it would grab the audience. Let's see this, you know. And I don't remember, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe the video was, it was called Aikido the Way That Doesn't Work. I believe it was called that. And don't quote me on it. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't watched that video in a really long time, and I still have that video, which surprisingly is very horribly done. When I go back and look at it, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell was I saying? You know, I didn't give a shit, because you put it in my head to be myself, and you put it in my head about the whole controversy thing. And I'm like, you know what? Let's see if I can ruffle some feathers here, you know, and you know, the famous phrase, shit in people's cornflakes, and see how people respond to that. And it exploded. I mean, I was getting great comments. I was getting bad comments. You know, it was really cool to do it. But it was originally supposed to be about the combative concepts. And then when I did, and I believe that one of the first videos I might have did on an actual technique might have been Steven Seagal's Rimi Nage. And I remember you watching, on the Aikido at least, on some of the other stuff, it wasn't Aikido, it was combative. But on the Aikido, when I did the past, present, and future video of Steven Seagal's Rimi Nage, at the very end, one of my students is whistling the Karate Kid theme in the background, and I'm sitting with a bandana on my head with chopsticks, and I'm like trying to like pretend like I'm grabbing a fly and use the special effect with that. And I remember you contacting me after you saw that video, and you were like, dude, what the fuck was that? I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh no. He's like, that was probably the best fucking video I've ever seen in my life. What the fuck? Where did you come up with this idea? I'm like, I don't know. I just did it because it started off wearing, you know, a t-shirt, tactical pants. I think I had an AR-15 in that video. I don't remember. And the response from that was amazing. I mean, it was just the comments that I was getting, and all of a sudden I start, you know, people start saying, hey, can you do more videos like this? Can you do more of this past and present, you know, Aikido video where I would show a technique of the past and then in the present and then what it could turn into in the future with a tactical mindset and whatnot. And it just took off. So then I started just doing other videos on Aikido. And originally that wasn't my intent, was to cater to the Aikido world. But once everybody knew that I was an Aikido person and, you know, I had connections to the dude that has a ponytail at 73 years old that, you know, we need a forklift to lift him into the back end of a pickup truck. Truth hurts, sorry. It took off from there, and it blew up. It blew up. I mean, I mean, I haven't talked about this stuff in years, and I'm trying to, you know, bring back how all that went down.
How was it received, considering the fact that most people back in that time were doing the more reverence aspect of martial arts and being very peace, love, and hair grease, and then you come on the scene with this explosive, violent mindset for martial arts, and you couple it with traditional, the tradition of martial arts. How were you received among the peers from the Aikido community?
I got a lot of support, believe it or not. I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't get a lot of support from like the Shihan, the master instructors of the Aikido world, you know, but I got a lot of support from people out there that practice Aikido, you know, in their daily lives and whatnot. I mean, I did have a lot of people that were higher ranked that I knew and that I got to know over the years that definitely gave me a thumbs up with my content, and they shared it, and they always had really good comments. You know, I had a couple of people that became pretty good friends from YouTube videos, from shitty comments that they left. Like, they called me out and they said all kinds of shit, and I just fucking let loose and just tore them a new asshole about it. And then they saw what I was talking about. You know, it's like I wasn't going to be, you know, tolerating keyboard warriors or the, you know, Monday morning quarterback trying to quarterback what I was doing, say, well, I could stop you from doing this or I can stop you from doing that. The people truly appreciated what I was doing because, you know, I watched hundreds of Aikido YouTube videos and, you know, years prior. And I always said to myself, I would never make a video like that. What the fuck is that? It's like nobody's explaining anything. They're just going through this demonstration. There's no close-up shots. There's, you know, they're not telling you what to do, what not to do type of things, where to put your foot, where not to put your foot. It's just, it was panned out and, you know, a 2-minute long video of somebody doing a technique, and that was it. And I'm like, okay, anybody that's watching this, that's an Aikido person that was watching a video like that would be like, oh, that's just another typical day at the office for Aikido, because that's how it's taught. You know, senseis don't explain shit on the mat. Very rarely do they explain anything on the mat. I'm constantly talking on the mat. I constantly explain stuff to my students. I refuse to be like everybody else. Fuck that. Why do I want to do that? Okay? I'm watching these people. I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing, and I also know what they're doing wrong. And they can show me something, and within 5 minutes, I'm going to teach it back to them 10 times better than what they showed me. You know, but the average person would see that and be like, oh, it's just another technique on this. It's just another technique on that. But I'm looking for something that could help me understand. So there's a lot of Aikido people out there that think they know what's going on. But the reality is, You're just going through the movements. That's it. If no one's really breaking down shit for you, and I think people are doing that more now, and I think maybe that could be because of me. I don't know. It's 80,000 subscribers. I haven't put a video up in 7 years, like a current video up. This is the very first one. It feels good to actually be doing this. But back then, people would watch my stuff. So I think maybe today people are like looking at going, we should do more of an approach like that. Because I do see more stuff like that today. But years ago, it was nothing like that. So I'm like, I always looked at it like, like the Panther production video series, the shit that you see in the back of Kung Fu magazine, and you can get 7 DVDs on Wing Chun and 8 DVDs on Robert Bussey's Warrior International and Shotokan Karate and, all these other guys, and you can buy those videos, and they were detailed. I bought some of those back when I was a kid, and they were detailed instructional videos. They were explained very thoroughly, and this is way before YouTube ever came out. And, I always had that dream of one day I'm going to be a fucking martial arts superstar. And if I ever get to that point of doing that, that's how I'm going to make videos. I'm not going to make them like the way how they're being made on YouTube. So I already had something in my head 15 years before I ever got on YouTube that if this was to ever happen, and never thought in a million years that it would, and it did. But if this was to ever happen, that's how I would do it. And that's how I would continue to do it if I ever came back to YouTube. I would never do what people were doing before. The videos that I could do today with the detailed instruction that I have and things that I've refined. I refined a lot of Aikido technique, and that's what I would show. And if I did stuff like that today, people would be like, holy shit, this was totally worth the wait of you not being around for the last 7 years, because I've discovered a lot of things that a lot of people miss. And I've really focused on angles, and it's called the Hasoji. And that's not an Aikido. That term is not, it's a Kenjutsu term. And it's the angles of cutting with the sword. And you apply that to Aikido principle and Aikido technique. I don't give a shit who you are. I can make you fall down on your ass, no problem. Why? I could take Brock Lesnar and I could fucking throw him to the ground.
Why did you?
Just by using angles. I know for a fact. I just know for a fact.
Why stick with traditional? You pressure tested it. People. I give credit where credit is due. For those who do not understand the environment that Lenny came before me, when we worked at that bar, we didn't have fights. We had brawls every night of the week, and we were backed up by a county sheriff that picked up whoever was left on the ground, and that was that. And we got away with so much shit, it was ridiculous. The environment that we came from was extremely violent, and it was fighting based, and MMA started in, I would say, to come up in big 2000s. You didn't sit there and go, okay, all this Aikido training I've done throughout the years, it's all going in the garbage. I got to go to this more practical stuff. You tripled down on Aikido with real world experience as the foundation. How did that come to play? Why did you have so much faith in traditional martial arts to keep it going, continue it? And you didn't. It's like people who sit there and say, well, you're evolving your martial art to fit MMA because MMA is superior. No, I think you rooted deeper the core of the traditional aspect of it. Why stay that route and not go MMA?
There's 4 core principles in Tenshin Aikido, and that's the style of Aikido they do. And it's don't get punched, grabbed, kicked, or taken in the ground. You being a wrestler, okay, dude, I don't want to wrestle with you. I don't want to go down to the ground. It's not that I don't know how to fight on the ground. And a lot of people in the, not the professional MMA guy, UFC guys and whatnot, but the guys that would make comments and stuff like that. It's like, dude, I've openly talked about my background being a bouncer for 23 years and whatnot. And, I was in tons of fights, more than I can count. But what people don't seem to understand is, you want to challenge an Aikido. Aikido people are non-violent people. And then here's me. I am the black sheep of the Aikido community. There's no fucking doubt about it. And there's a lot of people that love it. And there's a lot of people that, like what I do, but don't like what I say, or, whatever. I looked at it as it's, you know, street fighting is street fighting, and it's real simple. There's no rules to street fighting. There just isn't. You know, there isn't rules to it. So if you think that I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z to you, if you're on top of me on the ground to get you off of me, I'm going to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you going to scream at me and start saying, you can't do that, that's illegal, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is a street fight. I don't give a fuck about your rules. This is about survival. This isn't about a fucking trophy and a fucking hand held up by John McCarthy at the end of the fucking round. I can give a fuck about that. You know, it's about walking away from it, you know, being able to fight another day, so to speak, you know. But I never really was interested in that. It's just, you know, when I first got hooked on Aikido, when I first saw it, you know, when I first saw Steven Seagal for the first time, I was like, holy shit, that's, you know, never seen that before. I want to learn how to do that. So when I entered into the Aikido community in 1989, I trained in a traditional dojo for 16 years. I didn't get involved in Tenshin Aikido until 2000. But I was still playing around with it, you know. But then when I opened up my first dojo, I had to kind of, you know, kiss the ring on the finger and follow along with the curriculum, and, you know, to start getting, I didn't know where I was going to end up going with this. And because I thought I was going to be be a satellite dojo of my original dojo, and it didn't turn out that way. I actually got kicked out of my dojo when they found out that I was training with Larry Reynosa and George Angulo, to my current day, my sensei, George Angulo, and Haruo Matsuoka. They found out about it. Somebody emailed my instructor, Kevin Choate, and that was in 2003. And next thing you know, I'm being kicked out of the organization. And Marcia Turner reached out to me, who was like kind of supervisor in my dojo, who was Kevin's senior student at the time. She broke the news to me, and I actually and it was a month or 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks before I was supposed to take my second degree black belt test. And she broke the news to me, and I kind of laughed on the phone, and she's like, she goes, honestly, that's not like the reaction that I was expecting. I go, what were you expecting me to do? I go, thank you. She's like, what? I'm like, thank you. Thank you for telling me this. Thank you for this happening. You just gave me the power to do whatever I want and teach whatever I want when it comes to Aikido. I don't have to answer to anybody anymore. I don't have to work on that bullshit curriculum of techniques for each rank going, why am I teaching this shit? This stuff doesn't work. At least the way I was done traditionally. I'm like, that's never going to work. I never used anything like that in a street fight. You know, I've never had anybody grab my wrist, cross-handed or, you know, left to right, right to left. I've never had anybody do that. But a lot of people don't understand what the principles behind those techniques and what they're used for. But the dog leash was let off. And then I just started teaching Tenshin. I focused strictly on Tenshin Aikido. I started seeking out seminars and started meeting people and rubbing elbows with the right people. And I wouldn't change anything in the world to go back and redo any of that. I wouldn't change any of that. I mean, it was such a learning experience. You know, I still consider myself a student today, you know, even though I teach, but I'm constantly looking for how to improvise, overcome, and adapt on something that I'm doing, or how to make it more effective in the real world, you know. And I know it's probably going to piss off a lot of my fans if they're watching this video. I have tons and tons of content that I can make videos on. And I just haven't done it in the last 7 years, you know. And a lot of it had to do with YouTube, because I got shadow banned on YouTube on one of the videos that I did, and I made a comment. Is it okay if I say what I said in the video?
Sure.
You don't give a shit?
No, I don't care.
Okay, well, it was a video that I did, and it was called, I believe it was the top 5 man strikers, I believe it was called. And one of the videos is a hammer fist, and I was talking about hitting somebody in the clavicle or in the mandible inside of the jaw. I go, you're going to hit them so fucking hard, they're going to walk around like a retard. Dude, the comments that I got from that, the comments were unfucking believable.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
People started saying, "Are you fucking serious?" Blah blah blah, and I'm like flabbergasted at this point. I'm like, do they not get it? It's just a figure of speech. I'm not saying that they're actually going to be walking around like they're retarded. I don't make fun of retarded people.
Oh, the people who commented that are.
What's that?
The people who commented that they are.
Yeah. And I just, when have you not said to one of your friends, especially in a bar, saying, dude, you're acting like a fucking retard, knock it off.
From a different generation. And that's going to go into a different type of question here too. That's teaching style. I went back to wrestling, coaching wrestling last year, and I could not believe how wrestlers would show up late to practice. Wrestlers were called the head coach by his last name, not even coach or whatever. And I got politely asked, we thought you were only dealing with the junior rebels and you're coming in here, not the high school guys. When I came to practice the day after a tournament with a yellow legal pad with notes on how every single wrestler did over the weekend, good and bad, and the head coach saw, oh, this guy's actually coaching, and they don't coach. Oh, yeah, they don't coach. So he was threatened. I was asked not to return. They blamed it on my social media content, of course. But my point is my first wrestling coach in 1988, Coach Cruz, I shot in for a double leg takedown, and the next thing you know, I feel this burning pain. It's like my hair's on fire. I had this black Dago hair. He had a fistful of my hair, and he rips my head up and he yells, "Keep your head up, you fucking commie pinko fag." He was from the Vietnam War era. I didn't know what a commie was. I didn't know what a pinko was. I knew what a fag was. I'm like, oh, okay. So my point being is those days of that type of teaching are over. Then they need to come back. When it comes to traditional, I think MMA kind of has a little bit grittier. I've never been to an MMA gym, so I'm projecting this. Has a grittier outlook. Traditional, I kind of think that parents enroll their kids in traditional thinking they're going to get discipline, they're going to get value, but they don't get discipline if they're not pressured, right? So does traditional have a place anymore? And do teachers like you have a place anymore in creating fighters and people who actually are proper representatives of traditional martial arts?
That's a good question. Is there a place for traditional martial arts anymore? Yes, I think so. Because still to this day, I use principles from the traditional form of Aikido that I practice. I constantly use principles from it, but I've mixed it into the Tenshin style of Aikido, and for those out there that don't know really what the difference is, Tenshin Aikido is basically, I coined the phrase Tenshin Aikido. Josh Gold, who is Haru Matsuoka's senior student, actually told me that years ago. And anybody in Aikido knows who Josh Gold is. And we had a conversation, and he said that to me, because you're the one that pretty much coined this. Because none of Seagal's students ever referred to it as Tenshin Aikido. They would just refer to it as, I'm going to Tenshin Dojo tonight to go train. But it was never referred to it as that. And I started referring to that because I wanted people to know the difference, because, Seagal says that, his Aikido is not really any different than what traditional Aikido is. And I obviously beg to differ with that because I know it and I understand it. And there's a lot of things that are different about what we do versus what traditional people do. And, it's all about the one and done for us. If we have to apply this to you, it's not going to be a good day if something happens. But a traditional person, it's, I used to knock traditional Aikido all the time because it just seemed watered down. It seemed like the country two-step, and it was just, I did it for 16 years, and I'm like, I've had enough of this shit. This isn't why I was here in the first place. It's because there was no Tenshin Aikido dojos in the late 80s, early 90s in Chicago. I'm the only one, when I did it, with the exception of another guy. And that's a whole other story in itself. But the traditional aspect of it, I loved it. It was great, but it wasn't what I really was there for. But that was the ride that I had to take until something came down the road. How many people at the age of 18 years old in 1989 had the means to go to California and live out there by themselves and, train Aikido? I wonder how Seagal got to Japan in his, early 20s and was able to establish himself there. He must have had a shit ton of money to go, because it's not cheap to live in Japan. It's pretty expensive to live there. Even back in the 70s, I'm sure it was probably pretty expensive. But, there was always a question, how true is that? A lot of people say that it's not, that he kind of lies about the time frame and whatnot. But the traditional side of it, I think, it still plays a part today. for discipline, for etiquette, for, you know, knowing the history of a particular martial art, basics too. You know, if you can't do basics, you can't do any of this shit. You just can't. You know, I've been at seminars where I start teaching stuff, and I'll teach a technique, and I'll see a hand deflection missed or a hand deflection not even applied the right way, and I'd be like, that's never going to work, dude. Stop concentrating on the climactic part of the technique, the throw. Stop focusing on that, because the reality is you're never going to get there if you can't get past the attack. It's real simple. That's the first thing that you have to deal with. And if you can't deal with that, the thing that you see in Seagal's movie, the clothesline technique or the throat strike or the finger grab, none of that shit will be available to you because you'll get punched in the face, you know? And that's just the brutal reality of it. Is there a place for martial arts instructors like me still in this world? I think you already answered that question in the beginning of this podcast about, you know, how people DM you and stuff and say, where's Lenny Sly? Where's he been? You know, this, that, whatever. And the conversation that we had last night about, you know, you're like, dude, you have a fucking massive following. You even realize that? And I'm like, yeah, I do, you know, and I just haven't had it in me to start producing videos again. And he's just like, dude, people are dying for your shit. I mean, do you read your comments? I go, not all of them, but I read quite a bit of them. And I do see the ones where people are like, you know, where's Lenny Sly? You know, is he still alive? What's going on? You know, and I do see you guys. I do read some of the comments, you know, and I greatly appreciate everybody's support for the channel and people still watching it, you know, and it's a great feeling that 7 years later, people are still watching my stuff, you know.
I think
do I want to do this?
I think it's making a good big impact because we're at a time where, you know, everything is cookie cutter and two aspects of it. You have MMA, you punch, you grapple, you choke out, you whatever it is, right? You punch, you kick, you all that. And there isn't a lot of structure to it. And I think especially as males, we need that very regimented structure, pack mentality, fall in line. And I don't think that society-wise a lot of people get it. I think that the people like you who are out there more hardcore for structure and the methodology to get to a skill set, like a goal, becoming an expert in a traditional martial art, I think it's needed now more than ever. I think this is a resurgence time where people like you need to kind of step up and go, okay, you have a responsibility to come back and put your hard energy out there, and it's going to wake people up because they're craving that. So I think that's necessity for it.
It's been on my mind for a while. It has, you know, like I've ran stuff by some of my students and stuff, and they're like, oh my God, if you made a video on this would be great. Or if you made a video on that would be great. And I'm just like, wouldn't it? And I just kind of laugh. I'm like, it would be, wouldn't it? It's the film, you know, none of my stuff was ever edited. None of it was ever scripted. I just, you know, I did some special effects and some pictures and whatnot, like B-roll, but it is a process. I mean, you know how it is. It's not just record and bam, the video's up. I mean, some people do a lot of editing, and today's creators are really creative. I mean, I'm like, holy shit, this is like Hollywood style type of editing. This is amazing. I'm not into that. So if you're looking for that, you're at the wrong channel. I'm not into that. You know, it's cool with some stuff, you know, but to relearn that whole, you know, that platform with editing skills and whatnot, I mean, that would take me a while, you know, take me a while to get used to doing again. But just the raw video in itself is just, I mean, I like that better because it just went like kind of like right to the jump. It's, you know, I'm not sugarcoating it with, you know, fancy shit and, you know, lights and whatever and smoke show and all that. You know, it's just, here it is. Take it or leave it, like it or not. This is me, you know, and it worked. And I would, you know, we talked about this yesterday, and it's, I thought about a lot of stuff when we got off the phone, you know, like I was telling you yesterday, it's a conversation. It's like, dude, you know, we've been on the phone for an hour, and it was like 10 minutes, like literally it felt like 10 minutes. And I also told you that, you know, we haven't spoken in 9 years, and it feels like I just spoke to you yesterday. I mean, it was crazy. It's like, and we weren't friends when we ended. Not at all. I mean, and I've had people comment to me about, you know, you need to you need to make amends with Dominick Izzo and stuff. And I just kind of like laughed at him. I mean, one of them is a mutual friend that you and I have that has said it. And I laughed at him. Are you kidding me? I go, Dominick saw me on the street. He'd fucking run me over this car. There's no doubt about it. He'd be like, oh, I've been waiting for you, you piece of shit. And he would run me over. And we had great chemistry together, dude, when we did stuff. And that's rare. That's rare. I mean, you had this vision, I had this vision, and the fact that we both would compromise on stuff to, and
yeah, there was nobody who was trying to be the top dog. The relationship felt because I was not putting in the energy you were. I had given up. I had no passion for anything. So it wasn't had to be my way. Well, it had to be my way. That wasn't it. It was you were carrying my weight towards a path we were going to go, and I had no passion for it whatsoever. So, yeah, neither one of us ever sat there and had the ego of, well, my shit's got to dominate. No, my shit's got to dominate. It was never that. It was, you're going, hey, you need to pull your weight. And I was going, my head's not in it at all. Not at all.
So I tried to fill that space, with the YouTube videos and whatnot. It's just, you had a lot going on. I mean, there was a bunch of shit that was going on. I remember the Fox Valley thing that happened.
Yeah, Fox Lake, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, that was huge. You were massive about, part of that. And, you had some other stuff going on as well. And it was never clear-cut discussed, like, just, I'm not going to be here as much, run the dojo. I just did it. Because who else was going to do it?
And I'll tell you flat out. I don't think I've ever said this. For anybody who had never, if you saw earlier videos of, I was in over my head. At the time, it was like the school that I was training at, people were like, why are you doing your brand, but you've got X, Y, Z gym in the background? So I'm like, all right, I'll open up my own place. Open up my own place. I had never been through anything before. From the time we got the keys to the time we were able to open was 11 months because I didn't understand rezoning. I didn't understand all the paperwork I had to do. It was horrible. You come in and you look at the videos from back at that time where you had what I had and then you had this palace. And this was how my mindset was back then. It's like, all right, I can't explain this. I wasn't threatened. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I couldn't do what you did. You came in and people were looking at you as if, what? No, you're the man. But it was my own doing that I'm not involved. I don't want to do anything. So then I'm like, well, wait a second. Why how are you going to fucking, I was total back and forth in my head. You don't want to be involved, meaning me. But then again, you don't want him getting the credit. You don't want him getting the accolades. It was a nonstop petty bullshit jealousy in my head of shit. And that's when, okay, we had the Glenowitz, we had the body cameras recording us at the PD, lawsuit, bad breakup. I fucking gave up. I'm like, fuck this. I couldn't stand it. And that's when the scales went, Lenny's going up and I'm going, fuck this, I'm going down. And I gave up. That's what that was.
And we talked about that a couple of times. I remember talking about that and, to let people know, I wasn't, and you just described that perfectly. It wasn't, I needed to be the top dog there. I just felt that I had to fill that void to keep this going because I knew that you were dealing with so much shit and just you had a lot of shit going on in your head and stuff. And I'm just like, and I remember having a conversation with you and just saying, dude, we need to get this together. It's like I can continue doing this, but
I remember it was in the office. I was painting the wall.
It was February.
Yes, I was painting the wall, and you flat out said you got to get your head right, and you didn't say it maliciously. And I was in the shower yesterday, and I'm trying to remember if we had this conversation or if I made this up in my head, where I felt that I rolled over like a fucking beaten dog was the second seminar we did. And I'll never forget when it was, I was not in the mood to teach, right? You went 2 hours and I'm like, whatever. Yeah, I didn't want to teach at all. That I was like, you know what? I'm going to forfeit my time on this. And I remember, I was so fucking frustrated and I was so irritated. I needed a demo partner. I looked at you, I said, hey, old man, I need you. And the next thing I know, you walk out because you could tell there was already tension between us because I was not pulling my weight. And I remember all of your students just look at me and everybody walks right out. And I'm like, Oh, I am not fucking respected one bit in my own damn gym. And I don't, did we have a conversation, or am I making this up in my head, that your students thought that I disrespected you by calling you old man, and that's why everybody walked off the gym, because I don't know why this is like, I've been trying to tell, when did we fucking talk about that? Did we talk about
that day?
Okay, we did. Okay.
That day.
So this was, I'm like last night going, I haven't talked to him in 9 years, but I know we had that fucking conversation.
We did. We did. And it's, I remember that, because, I mean, you were standing on the mat, and you were, you know, we had a little waiting area, and we had those benches there, and I was sitting on that bench, and you said that, and I don't remember what I said. That's the thing. I know I said something. I don't remember what I said. And I got up, and I, you know, I think I walked out because I was embarrassed for the fact that you called me an old man in front of all my students. And even though we weren't old back then, when you think about it, I mean, I'm 4 years older than you. I'm 54.
Yeah.
You know,
I was 40, you were 44. Yep.
Yeah. It's, so I remember walking out, because I'm just like, what the fuck? You know, and you know, there were guys standing around that were waiting for that with you. And, Matt, you had a student named Matt, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a guy with a ponytail too?
Yeah. Vic.
I think Vic ran in, or Matt ran in, because you texted them, but you weren't getting a response. So you were waiting for them. And when I walked, like right before I walked out, I think when I got into the office area, Matt or Vic showed up, and I was like, okay, problem solved. And next thing you know, the rest of my, you know, my student stuff they walked out, and I'm like, okay, why aren't you guys in there? You know, you should be watching and supporting it. And no one really had said anything to me about it. Like they were pissed off about it, but I could tell that something was wrong, you know, like, but I don't know. I mean, it's the second demonstration. It was, what did we call that? An open house or something?
Yeah, I don't remember. We had we had two of them, and they were relatively.
Yeah.
They were
the first one was fucking crazy.
Yeah, home run. It was a fucking home run.
Oh, that was amazing. The second one, I just it wasn't as good as the first one. It usually never is, type of deal when you start doing stuff like that. And I don't know. I just kind of like, yeah, there was tension already between us. I think there was tension between us during the day before we even started.
Well, we're going to give credit where it's due. You had tried to continually pull me out of a funk, and how many times you going to do it? I say it all the time. I was fucked up in the head over the lawsuit, fucked up over the head of the relationship going to the south with that girl I was with, and then I had no fucking passion to teach. I had 3 dedicated students. There was a competitive where you've got like 10 guys who are loyal to you. I've got fucking 3. So it's like there's all this shit going on, and it's divide and conquer in my own head. The relationship went south seriously because you tried to bail it out and I was not responding. That's where it went south. That's it. Where I got mad was the later shit. And again, I'll thank you for you publicly. But if you didn't do what you did, I would not have the leash fucking taken off of me. So I'm glad you said that about your Aikido association, because you get exactly what it was like. The second I went through that shit, I went, the leash is fucking off. But that was it. That was it. It was a lack of me giving a shit. And when you don't contribute to a relationship, the relationship dies. So our relationship died. We went our separate ways. That was August of 2016. 16. And then next thing you know, November 2016, I'm getting hauled in the office. Oh, you're texting dead body pictures. Oh, I'm like, okay, what's your point? And then that was it. And so when you really think about it, I shit my own bed, and I have no problem admitting to that shit. So for people like, what was the bad blood? Well, pride. Blood was fucking pride. That's it.
You know, the bad blood for me with that was the fact that, in being 100% honest about shit, the bad blood for me was the fact that you brought me into this, brought me into your school. You exposed me to YouTube. You taught me how to do YouTube videos. And the problem that I had was that I looked up to you, man, and I respected the fuck out of you. And I was looking at this as, other people have said, I told you about this last night, there's been many people that have said to me that they looked at us as the dream team, and I looked at that going, wherever I go, this dude's going with me. I'm loyal like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't forget what people do for me. I don't ever forget what anyone's ever done for me. I might not thank you enough at times, but the reality is it's like I respected the shit out of you, and I wanted to go down this journey with you. I didn't want to go down this journey on my own. It's just, but you forced me to do that. You know what I'm saying? So
we're very
I wouldn't
similar.
have turned out the way I turned out either if it wasn't for you. So if the shoe fits, wear it, right? So it's like what happened between you and I also allowed me to come out of my comfort zone and forced me to do shit pretty much on my own and come up with my own ideas and come up with things that I wanted to share with you, that I wanted you to be a part of, that I wanted to continue this journey with you, because I looked at it, it's just like two heads are better than one, his take on this, and, God knows where the videos would have went, even though you had your own, I had my own. I mean, if we started collaborating more on shit and talking about, dude, who the fuck knows where this could have went? I mean, woulda, coulda, shoulda, we'll never know now, because it's way too late. But in hindsight, I look back at it going, that's one of my I don't regret my life, but that is one of my biggest regrets, is the fact that
I don't know.
Should have sat down and talked to you more about stuff.
Well, I don't know if it's a regret. Well, people need to know the behind the scenes shit, right? Because I think that where we're both extremely similar is I'm not a bridge burner. I will detonate the bridge with as much TNT as possible. I'm loyal, just like you are, until there's a punch thrown, then I counter punch until there's nothing left. I knew that, what's that saying? For every action, there's an equal and greater reaction. I remember the text I sent you. I think the last text I sent you, it was to surmise, it was get your shit out of the gym and pull your stuff off the channel or whatnot. Take anything that's associated with my channel, take it off. So the next thing you know, when I'm getting pulled into the police department for my deposition, if you will, and I'm like, as I had no idea, for fucking 3 weeks they had me walk on eggshells going, you've got a mandatory, it was a disciplinary hearing, and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I had no idea. And I'll never forget when I went into that meeting and they said, they pulled the file, do you know this person, Lenny Sly? I went, right in my head, I went, oh, that's retaliation for the fucking text. I got it. You and I are very the same. We fucking annihilate. Where we're very the same again too, and I don't think anybody else does this, is there's no one else in my life that has slighted me or hurt me that I've given a shit enough about bridging a relationship with again. By all means, what we did to each other was pretty fucking brutal. And yeah. I have no problem reconnecting. It was nothing. We both talked about it yesterday. It was like when I called you, went to voicemail, you called back, and I wasn't like, oh, heart's pounding. I was going like, oh, well, Lenny's calling. Also, I didn't feel any anxiety. I didn't feel any, all right, I'm going to get on the phone. Listen, motherfucker, it's been 9 years. Well, that wasn't the case. And I didn't get any energy from you like that as well. So that is something that is rare, where we both will go scorched earth when someone hurts us. But if this is the one thing that, like I said, that just was the saving grace, and I said this in the video that I did about you a couple of years ago, is I know you and I've seen you go scorched earth on people before, but it was never unjustified. It was always to people who fucking hurt or betrayed you. So when, you can't see me. It was the village attorney is sitting at the head of the table. The court stenographer is at the other end. My chief and my deputy chief there, and my union rep is there. And I got a poker face, but in my mind, I'm going, smiling in my face. I'm going, oh, he got me. He fucking got me. Well deserved. I understood it. It wasn't like, oh, fuck Lenny. It was, no, I get it. He was just counterpunching. So we're very different in that most people will hold those fucking grudges. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel a grudge. I just felt like, no, that's the shit that we did.
Well, one thing I never got to tell you about this, because there were other videos that were made in the past about, there were some like inconsistencies with what you were talking about, and I got it. I totally understood. Anybody that knows me, and when I say this phrase, what I'm about to say, I'm telling you the God's honest truth. I swear on my dad's grave, Dominic. I never handed those photographs to your chief of police.
No,
my lawyer did.
Yeah, I found that out later on. Yeah.
My lawyer did, because he knew of you and he was watching the channel and he saw what was going on. And I had a discussion with him about it, and I told him, and his background was he was an internal affairs detective. So it's obviously he didn't know the full story that was going on with you, with your department at the time, and what was happening in your bullpen, so to speak. And he goes, "What do you want me to do with these?" I go, "I don't know. Do whatever you want with them." I go, "I'm just giving them to you just in case something happens to me." Mm-hmm. Okay, because dude, you were fucking.
Oh,
you were, dude. You were.
Place. I was in a bad fucking place.
You were fucking pissed, and I was just saying, if anything happens to me, this is who you want to go to. And it's and I know you're not afraid of me, and I'm not afraid of you. We never were. It was never like that.
It was never a reason to be.
We've never had that type of shit where some people are like, when you have a friendship with somebody, somebody can potentially be afraid of you because if you're a martial artist, I'm a martial artist, you're skilled at what you do, and I'm skilled at what I do. It's like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. It's whatever. I would have never, honestly, if you would have came up to me and started to fight with me, dude, I'd be like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Yeah, both of us would have done the same thing. And I heard the story years later. The original shit that I heard, that when I spouted my mouth off, is that you were trying to use that for leverage to get hired in my department. And then years later, it was the truth fucking comes out. I'm like, oh, you cocksuckers couldn't have told me that in the beginning. So yeah. I heard that years later. I heard the truth.
But that was the God's. I swear, my dad's great, dude. I never went to Flanco and gave him the Flanco. I mean, I've talked to Flanco because they called me. They wanted me to participate in a deposition, and I told them no.
Yeah, I heard that too. No. I heard that too. I heard that in October of 2019 is when I heard that.
Yeah, I told them no. I go, I'm not. I told him, I go, this is what's ever going on with him with the department. That has nothing to do with me. Okay, so I'm not going to come in there and basically shit in your cornflakes because of what happened between you and I. This has nothing to do with me. So I told him, no, I decline. I don't want to do that, but and then all of this, and my lawyer told me, he goes, "Hey, just so you know, I forwarded those pictures to George Flanco." I go, "You did?" He's like, "Well, you told me to do whatever I wanted with them." I go, "I told you to do whatever you wanted with them, but if something was to happen to me, then I didn't know that he was going to actually go and do that." And I'm just, and I'm like, "Oh, well, whatever, what the fuck?" I'm like, he said so much shit about me on the internet, or he said this, or he said that. And I'm just like, whatever. There were times that it was stressful, honestly. I mean, when I would see you post up because you just have such a big following and just, everybody loves your shit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking ground I'm on right now is on fire. It's, how am I going to, recover from this? And people that were involved in my corner were like, who gives a shit? Dude, just do your own thing. Who cares what Dominic says? I'm like, I do, because it's like, I'm all about the truth. I mean, I'm a very honest person. I don't lie about shit. Like if you said, "Hey, do I look good in these jeans?" You look great in those jeans, dude. You look great in those jeans. But I'm not going to say, no, you look like a faggot wearing those, skinny ass fucking hip hugging jeans. What are you fucking trying out for a boy band? What the fuck is wrong with you? That's not what I'm like. I'm going to tell you, the truth about it, how I am. And they're just like, just do what you do. Just don't give a shit. And that's what I did. But honestly, it bothered the fuck out of me because I'm just like.
Did you use that to fuel and drive into the next level when you went back to Gilbert, you created the channel? Was that fuel for you?
Yeah, it was. Because when I had to start my channel, and I saw it, because at that time you had just over 100,000 subscribers when I left the channel. And I don't get jealous about shit. Honestly, I'm not a jealous person. I mean, I'm really not. I don't care, you know, buddies of mine that, you know, have really good guns or whatever. I don't care. Or somebody has a nicer car than me. I don't give a shit. I'm still driving the Kia Optima. I don't care. I don't care. It's never been about that for me. Because when I was younger, when I was a little kid, I used to get jealous about all kinds of shit. But I just got out of that phase, you know. But seeing you with 100,000 subscribers and I had like 200, I was like, "Whoa, motherfucker!" You know, it's like I helped build that fucking channel. Yeah, I was a bit salty about that. I was jealous about that because it's like once you break that 100,000 subscriber threshold, things change for the YouTuber. It's different. You know that. You know, your videos get more opened up across the algorithm. People see more of your shit because you've made it past that 100,000. How many people make it past 100,000 subscribers on YouTube? Not many. And that was my goal. I wanted to get up there with you to show you, look at what you created.
You exploded fast. Next thing you know, it's 10,000, 30,000, 70,000.
Yeah.
You exploded fast. The fight part of you, because a lot of people, I'm glad we're doing this because a lot of people get the aggressive side of Lenny Sly, who's on the mat teaching, and they don't know. And you're very kind. You're very generous. How do you balance those two when it comes to being somebody who's in a very dog-eat-dog martial arts dominated world with all these people who think they're top dog shit? You never go into somebody else's gym to embarrass them. A lot of other martial artists who I've ever brought in to do collaborations with, they want to one-up me on my channel, you know, because they're the top dog. It's just an innate thing that we have. You don't do that. You don't go to other people's place to, you know, pet their dog, drink their beer, sit on their couch. You don't do that. But how do you balance being I'm going to use the generic word alpha? How do you balance that? How does he come out? That side of Lenny Sly. How does that warrior come out? And then how does he get compartmentalized when you come off the mat? Because again, even when we're talking about what we did to each other, that was ruthless, warrior, annihilate everything mindset. Even in the competitive drive to build your channel, how do you access that side of you and still live as a kind, soft-hearted man?
That's a really good question. How do I answer that? Well, when I would do the YouTube videos, when I'd film those, and you know, once you know the word action was said, and I got into this alter ego that was something that you created. I mean, it's, yeah, I'm going to revisit, you know, the word controversy again. It's once you put that in my head about being controversial with what I was doing, it kind of like, I don't want to make this sound like it's crazy, but it kind of like created like an alter ego, because when I first did that very first video with you, I mean, you might not see it in video, but I was nervous as fuck. I was like, holy shit, here's Martin Scorsese filming me and I'm about to fucking shit the bed. And it turned out that you're like, dude, that was fucking awesome. Where did that come from? It's like, dude, what the fuck? You know how long it took me to be able to act like that in front of a fucking camera? And I'm like, well, I've watched a lot of your shit, dude. I don't know if I wasn't like studying you, you know, but I watched your stuff, and it just, but when you put that in my head about being controversial and just being myself, I'm like, oh, it's like, this is always a version that I wanted to, like, because I always had a thing for acting and whatnot. You know, we talked, you know, you spoke briefly in the beginning of it about the TV show that we auditioned for that we never got, which if we would have got, would have been fucking amazing. But I turned on like this alter ego because when I started doing the Aikido, because I did the Aikido stuff the same way that I did the competitive concept shit. You know, it's like, you know, I had, and the thing is, and I didn't have an ego. It was just a person that I was, like an image that I was projecting. So it was part of this brand that I was cultivating in my head of like, what is going to, because I remember you saying, dude, you need to capture the audience within the first 7 seconds or you're fucked. First 7 seconds, seconds that video is extremely important. So when I adopted what you were doing with, and then when we changed the dojo to the Road Warriors Training Compound, it's, you know, hey, Lenny Sly, Road Warriors Training Compound here in Schaumburg, fucking Illinois, and like really made that pop out. It got people's attention. And then I'd be, you know, whatever I was doing that day, it might have been like a 5, 10, 15-minute rant before I actually got to the technique. There's some shit that I need to talk about now to get it off my chest before I start doing this. And a lot of people love that when I started just flying off the mouth and calling people out. And, you know, people, some people, a lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't. But it was that alter ego. And once I got it, which did not take long for me to develop that somewhat of a character, that's why they saw me. Thank you for the kind words and the things that you've said about me a couple minutes ago. The past several years, I wasn't so kind. You know, I was still generous in ways, but the past several years, I wasn't so kind. And I'm sure we'll get into part of the reason why that took place a little bit further down, which is life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing. And a lot of people have no idea what I've been going through over the past 6 months, but they're about to find out. But, you know, it's that time frame, it's I didn't know who the fuck I was, really. The first, you know, it was 5 years. The first 2 years of that 5 years, starting in 2019 to 2020 to midway through end of 2019, 220, and then midway through or June or something of 21, were great. They were absolutely great. I what was going on in my life, the relationship that I was in, the family that I was involved with, absolutely amazing. I mean, they changed my life. I became a Christian, was baptized, and funny thing is I was actually baptized on Steven Seagal's birthday on April 10th, which when I found out that I had an option, I believe, I'm like, I want that day, because I knew what day it was. I didn't really tell anybody about it, but I was baptized on his birthday, and said there was some meaning behind that. But I was baptized at 52, 51, 52. I believe, I can't remember exactly how old I was when I 51 or 52. But it's like, it was a great feeling. And if it wasn't for this family that I was involved with and this woman that I was involved with, that would have never happened. You know, but little did I know that there was, I just found out, okay, 6 months ago, but there's been something that's been brewing inside of me that I had no idea that was present, because it never showed its ugly face until last November. It turned me into a much different person. Okay, I was, you know, plus, you know, with my job, you know, most people know that I'm a union sheet metal worker. I'm actually wearing my company sweatshirt or t-shirt today. You know, Pat Ryan, this is for you. Ziggy, this is for you. So a plug for them. Anybody in the Northwest area of Chicago needs sheet metal for HVAC, called Fabrite. Or check them out on Fabrite.com. I love those guys. You know, my bosses are absolutely amazing. They're extremely supportive. I mean, Pat Ryan's, you know, one of my best friends. I mean, the guy's just, he reminds me a lot of myself, but in more calmer ways. You know, I had a lot going on with work. I mean, for a couple of years, couple of summers, we were buried. So I would come home and I'd be in a shitty mood or a shitty, you know, just had a shitty frame of mind and stuff. And it was hard for me to separate that, because I've been working for the same family for 25 years. Most union guys don't do that. You know, they'll go from shop to shop to shop to shop. You know, I've met people at my shop, you know, so where else have you worked? Nowhere. How long have you been here? Well, I've been with the Ryans for 25 years. What? That's like unheard of. And the reason why is because they groomed me the way how they wanted me to work, because I had no other blueprint to follow, you know, for a union company. This is the first union company I ever worked for. And they groomed me. They showed me, you know, this is how we do it. And, you know, monkey see, monkey do. I did it the way how they did it. And I'm still standing today. I've seen people that had years of seniority over me leave. Years. The guys that I work with in my shop are absolutely, they're great dudes. They really are. And it's, with what I've been going through, it's really it's opened up my eyes to a lot of things. It really has. And I'm back to that person that I was before those 5 years, you know. I'm back to that person. I'm so much nicer nowadays. It's with what I'm going through. If I see, I just a couple weeks ago I was at the grocery store and I saw this old lady had a cart and she was done with it, and I already put mine away. I already went back into the store, put it away, and came out and saw her, and I just looked at her and I'm like, I feeling like shit. I mean, you obviously know what's going on. You'll find out in a couple minutes or whatever, but I feel like shit and just wasn't feeling good at all. And I still took the cart for a lady, and, where I could have easily just been like, oh God, I'm sorry, not today. I just don't have the strength for it. But it's like, God has a plan, and he's always had a plan. And I never really realized that until I became a Christian. That's when I really started understanding. Now, I'm not that, I'm not a devoted 100% practitioner of Christianity, mostly holidays and stuff like that, like everybody else for that matter. But I believe in God. I have faith in God. I have hope for the human race. I hope for this country. I hope for the world that something good will happen and we won't be going through the shit that we've been going through over the past several years. But this experience that I've been dealing with has definitely changed my life back to those years before the last 5 years.
Well, your character's always been that way. People don't know that you used to work 60, 65 hours a week and still teach 6 days a week class. People didn't know that they'd see you drug in, tired as all hell, and still teach. That's just a part of your character.
Go ahead.
We need to talk about the elephant in the room.
I still do teach right now. Mm-hmm. I just don't have a dojo, a public dojo. I still do teach, but the thing is, I only teach on weekends, and it's only if I feel good. Okay, if I'm not feeling good, then one of the other guys will teach, and I'll sit on the sideline, and I'll be that Monday morning quarterback, in my director's chair saying, "You're doing it wrong." Sounds ring a bell?
Yeah, wrong.
Yeah, wrong. You're doing it wrong. And then, I'll get up and, put your foot here, put your foot there. I've come to terms within myself that I don't let people call me sensei. In the Aikido world, that's, it's a title. And when you're a teacher, once you're a teacher and they know you're a teacher, they're respectfully supposed to address you as sensei all the time. I did a seminar in Hawaii last year, and first thing I said is, I go, whatever you guys do, don't call me sensei. I go, I'm a coach. I go, I'm not a sensei. Senseis show you a technique, and then they walk off at the end of the mat and they start scratching their head like a monkey going, why can't they get this? Because you're standing over there with your fucking thumb up your ass when you should be over here showing the person what they're doing wrong. And then you don't actually fucking do that. You don't show that person, whatever. I just don't call me sensei. Call me asshole. Call me, hey, dickbag, whatever. Call me Lenny. I don't care. Just don't ever call me sensei, because I hate the stigma of that term, because I don't fall into that category.
I went the opposite route. I never let anyone call me Sifu. In Canton Chinese, it's Sifu. You guys are sensei. And just this last year, I'm like, fuck it. That's my title now, because I'm going to reinvent that. I'm going to take ownership, and that's going to be a title of damn respect. So I'm the exact opposite of that now. Now?
Well, right now.
Yeah. Now you will call me Sifu if you're training with me.
But I had a problem with that.
Yeah, you could reinvent it. You could re-fucking invent it. Believe it or not, when I started getting passion back to train martial arts was when that Cobra Kai series came out. And I was like, oh my God.
On Netflix?
Oh my God. I was like, I did fucking bit a bug. I want to talk about, you don't quit. You don't fucking quit, you don't quit. And I purposely told you we're going to have a conversation today. We're going to do a podcast, and we're going to rip the fucking Band-Aid off and talk about the elephant in the room. You're going to tell everybody about what's going on with you. And people are going to need to see that the character, the quality, the fucking tenacity of you going forward through a fucking battle. And they're going to need to hear about it, because you've been, the people who support you the most, they deserve it. They deserve to hear it. They deserve to support you, and they deserve to put their energy out for you. So rip that fucking Band-Aid off. People need to know exactly what's been going on with you.
I had cancer. How's that?
There you go.
I had cancer. Back in December last year, a couple years ago, I had hip replacement surgery on my left hip. And when I was out in Hawaii, I got a chiropractic adjustment, and specifically told the guy, don't fuck with my left hip at all. And he's an older gentleman, and chiropractors have like this little tool that they use where that, if they can't manipulate your neck or your spine or your lower back, they'll use this. And it almost looks like a pogo stick for your hand. Okay. But it like snaps and it like pushes like your vertebrae back in place. So, and this chiropractor that I had was, he was a little weathered. He wasn't, in his 40s, and he had a hard time trying to adjust me. And, back when I was right before Hawaii, and when I was in Hawaii, I was 204 pounds. I'm currently 159, but I got down to 150 as of this past February. I got so sick that I was at 150 because all the weight that I was losing from, chemotherapy and whatnot. But here I'm 204 pounds, laying on the bed, he's adjusting me. And then I told him, don't mess with my left hip. He took that tool and did an adjustment into my glute, saying I'm resetting your sciatic muscle. And I'm like, that's a nerve, not a muscle. It's sciatic is a nerve from my understanding. And I was fine. And that was, I went through twice. This particular incident happened the day before I left, and I left on a Thursday and flew to Seattle from Kona and had a 2.5 hour layover, and I was completely fine. Got on the airplane, and 45 minutes into the flight, I'm sitting there in a crash position for like 4 hours getting home to Chicago. I was in excruciating pain. I didn't have any Tylenol or anything, so I was dealing with this, and I thought it was my hip. I literally thought it was my hip because it all started in my lower back and it was in my hip. And I was just in this excruciating pain. I get home, I'm like pacing back and forth. I call up my orthopedic surgeon. I set up an appointment for the next day because it was Friday morning when I got home. Went to the orthopedic surgeon on Saturday. They did took some images through x-ray, and they're like, your hip is fine. If the pain doesn't go away, you need to go to the ER and ask for a CAT scan. I'm like, okay. Well, it got worse. The pain just, it just felt like somebody had like a propane torch and was just holding it on the same spot. Like it started far away and it just started getting closer. The pain just started getting really, really bad. And I had some pretty severe pain for several years with this hip, with being stubborn about getting it replaced and whatnot. And eventually got it done, because that person that was in my life for that 5 years forced me to do it, and I couldn't thank her enough for doing that. Honestly, it was one of the greatest things that she ever made me do, was that. Because when I look back at it now, I'm like, God, typical, kid that's born in the 70s with, a father that was born in the 40s, suck it up, type of shit. And it fucking hurt. Hip replacements are no joke. If your hip is fucked up, go get it checked out. That's no joke. I can't sprint, but I can run. I was never really a runner to begin with, but it's rule of thumb is if that thing pops out 3 times, you have to get another surgery. And so I'm like, hell with that. So stayed away from anything that was any like serious activity that could possibly do that. Luckily, I've been pretty lucky with it. But went to the hospital, went in the ER because I was in so much pain, and told them what my orthopedic surgeon said. So they did a CAT scan, and the ER doctor comes back in and goes, well, it's not your hip. And I'm like, okay. Like, you have a silver dollar cyst on your lymph node next to your left kidney. You need to see an oncologist right away. And I was like, oh shit. And it freaked me the fuck out. And the reason why it freaked me out is because this was December of last year. Okay, this is 2024. In December of 1995, my dad had a mild heart attack and went to the hospital, and they found a lump on his lung, which turned into small cell lung cancer. And he was 53 years old. I was 53 years old in December. My birthday's in January. I just turned 54. My dad died August 28th, 1996 from lung cancer at the age of 54. I'm like literally following in his footsteps. And I've been dreading this age for the last 30 fucking years, just about. I've been dreading it because it's just like, you know, my dad was my best friend when I was, you know, a younger teenager and young man when I was growing up. He was my best friend. At that time in my life, I looked up to him very much, even though obviously there was things that happened in our family, and I still had a lot of respect for my dad. And but that's been affecting me from the time that my dad died. I never forgot that. It's like he's 53 when he was diagnosed. He's 54 when he died, and here I am, not even knowing that this was going on, that this was festering in my body. Because when I eventually got to an oncologist, which took me a couple weeks to do because I was still kind of under that holy shit phase. Like, this isn't happening. That can't be. No fucking way. And then I'm like, holy shit, I'm 53. Holy shit. So I went and saw an oncologist and did some tests and whatnot, and found out that I was diagnosed with lymphoma. Follicular lymphoma is what I was diagnosed with. And that is, it's a blood cancer. So it's not like cancer of the liver or prostate or pancreatic cancer or lung cancer or anything like that. It's a blood cancer. So it's survivable. You know, it's survivable. But before I knew this, I was already planning my funeral. Like, literally, I was already planning, you know, who's going to get what, you know. I want to give this to this friend of mine. I want to give that to that friend of mine. You know, who's going to take my dog, things like that. You know, I have a 10-year-old daughter that's about to be 11. I started freaking out about that. There were many a nights after that where the waterworks were going hard. I mean, it's became extremely emotional about it. And this is only 6 months ago. You know, I'm still battling this today. I actually have 2 forms of cancer because after 3 months of treatment, because you go for a PET scan, and a PET scan pretty much, that's for cancer use. You know, you get injected with this radioactive dye, and then you go into this like MRI machine. It takes images of your torso and whatnot, and anything that's lit up like a Christmas tree is cancer. So the first PET scan was determined that I had cancer, and you know, it was lymphoma. The second PET scan determined that the cancer over here wasn't affected by the chemotherapy treatment. So I was re-biopsied, and then I was re-diagnosed with diffused type B large cell stage 3 follicular lymphoma, which is worse than what I was originally diagnosed with. So I have 2 forms of cancer that I'm battling right now. I'll tell you, man, it changes you. It makes you look at things differently. It makes you realize that you are not untouchable. okay, that you are not bulletproof. Going from 204 pounds in a blink of an eye, going from a stud to a dud to 150, it's, dude, that is a, God, it's a mental mind fuck, dude. It's amazing. And you looked at yourself in the mirror one day and you're like, fuck, I look fucking good. And then you look at yourself like that and you're like, holy shit, what happened? That's how brutal this disease is. And it's put a lot of, it stops you from doing a lot. And the side effects from it are brutal. The dizziness, there's nothing that controls that. I could just be sitting here and the room's spinning, and it's just, I told you that, how I had to go somewhere like a week and a half ago and I was driving my car. I felt like I was drunk. Literally, I felt like I was drunk. I couldn't get focused on the street. And I'm like, what in the fuck? And it's in this new regimen of chemo that I'm on is what's created that, because the first set wasn't as bad. But this was like all day, every day, 24 hours a day. I would get up to get something to eat or get up to go to the bathroom. And it's like all of a sudden the room would start spinning. It's, walking my dog, the room would start spinning. I went and got the mail, came back, and I was out of breath. And I actually had to hold on to the front door because I thought I was going to fall down. It's fucking brutal, And I asked my doctor, how did he get this? And he basically, he's not sure, but it's not something that I partake in with my life. Things that I did, vices that I had or whatnot. It had nothing to do with that. He reassured me of that. This is a blood disease. It has nothing to do with that. I'm like, okay, do you know how long I've had this? And he goes, from the looks of this, from what I'm able to determine, he goes roughly about 3 years. So I was like, no shit. Well, that 5 years that I was talking about,
Yeah.
I had no idea that I've had cancer for the last 3 years of my life when he told me this, that this is his professional opinion based off of test results on what he was able to see. A rough estimate was about 3 years, give or take. And I'm like, well, that sure explains a lot. It explains a lot about how I felt all the time because I was constantly tired. Okay, I had no energy for shit. I got really irritated about simple things. When normally today, I don't get irritated about shit. I don't get mad about anything anymore. It's crazy. I couldn't gain weight to save my life. Like, couldn't gain weight. Like, I was stuck like at 183 pounds to 185 pounds, and I could not put on any weight at all. And then I started to be able to put on some weight. I had some more free time on my hands in 2024. So I started hitting the gym a lot harder and put on some weight and got up to 204 pounds. And I was ecstatic. I mean, I can't even tell you last time I weighed 200 pounds. I mean, dude, actually the last time I weighed over 200 pounds was 5 years ago when I weighed 210 pounds. But there was a difference this time. It's like, I was way more conditioned. I started understanding more about diet, nutrition, and stuff like that. So they changed a lot of the physique to where I looked bigger, but I was actually lighter. When I was 193, it's like, I was like, holy cow, this is fucking amazing. But I still want to get to that 200 pound mark. I got to break that glass ceiling. I have to do that. And I did it. And then I come home and it's getting field goal kicked in the nuts, man. It's just like, never saw it coming in a million years. Kind of like how the phone call that I got from you yesterday, never saw that coming in a million fucking years, And I've reached out to a couple of people. I'm like, you would never guess in a million years who contacted me today, and it's not who you think it is. And I never thought in a million years or in my wildest dreams that I would have saw that phone number and that name connected to that phone number. And I was one of the people I was talking to, I go, there's no fucking way that Dominick accidentally butt dialed me. There's no fucking way. I go, something's going on. Why not? I'll call him back. And I think it was like about 21 minutes later after you called is when I saw it. Yeah. And I'm like, who is this? So I did a reverse lookup on it and I saw your name and I'm just like, dude, huge smile came on my face. Like, and God has a plan. We talked about this.
Talked about it last night.
God has a plan, and he has a plan, and this is part of his plan, and it's pretty much stripped me of everything. I mean,
to rebuild. And I think
everything.
That's what, yesterday I said the purpose of the conversation for me yesterday was I need a space for Matt, what has Matt, so I could film some Wing Chun and wrestling content, and it turned into, no, we're going a different direction. I wanted you on a podcast. I wanted you telling your story. I wanted people to give a shit about you, know where you've been and whatnot, because listening to you talk about what you're going through right now, I don't see defeat at all. And you have this army of people who care behind you. And I think you're in a position to become a very big leader and an inspiration to people who might be going through something similar. And you take your drive, your will, your dedication, your discipline, you apply that to a cancer battle and you move forward. And I think you're going to kick the shit out of this. I really do. Segue for a second, for those who are watching this and you feel a compulsion, there's a link in the description below for a GoFundMe that we set up for Lenny. He wouldn't have done this himself, and he's too proud to accept anything, but we're going to support him. The call to action is going to be help this man out monetarily. It's energy. And everybody out there who supported his fucking work over the last several years, who've asked where he's been, all this shit, get off your ass, click the link, and fucking support. Build this man back up, because he's only been doing nothing but giving you in return for the last several years. That's my soapbox speech.
Yes.
So the link is in the description for those who want to help out. I see this as an opportunity for this to be the 2.0 or 7.0 or whatever we want to who is Lenny Sly now at the most difficult battle of his life, and how is that warrior in him, that rogue warrior, how does this apply? And I think it's going to transcend martial arts. I think that's going to be a catalyst. I think it's time for you to get more content up on YouTube. I think the people need to see the persona behind it, the battles, the experience, and I think this is going to be the biggest project you've had yet.
You're probably right. It's and let me make something clear here. I'm not. I don't want to like give excuses or anything right now. It's like, it would be hard for me to like start filming videos because I don't really have a lot of energy. I'm hoping that this is going to end soon. I have some tests that are coming up at the end of the month and whatnot, and I'm hoping to. I'm praying. I'm praying to God that I'm going to get good results from this, and I could start rebuilding my life. I've learned a lot. I've learned a tremendous amount about myself over the past 5 months. I learned a tremendous amount about myself in 2024. And I had some really hard lessons to learn in the last 5 years, but I have some very fond and great memories of those 5 years that like I said, I'll hold with me dearly for the rest of my life. I have no ill will towards anybody or anything. It's just, it's made me like, God, it's like, it's made me see the light about a lot of things where, I got caught up in shit and just, didn't like the way how this person was or didn't like the way how that person was and, didn't give a fuck. And, I would retaliate by not being the way how that person wanted me to be or the way how those people wanted me to be. It's like, hey, it's real simple. If you don't like the way how somebody's acting, look at the way how you're treating them. And it goes both ways, and I don't like being, taken advantage of or being kicked in the balls or anything like that or being lied to or, any of those things. But it's like, that was then. It's like, this, I believe, had to happen to me in order for me to be able to move down the road, to continue down this journey. Because, I'm not kidding, dude. I literally, and the thing is, I could still die. That's the thing. I can still die. This isn't over yet. I can still die. And I'm not trying to be a hard ass. So anybody that's listening to this right now, do not take this as me being a hard ass. I'm not afraid to die. What I'm afraid of is what I'm going to miss out on. You know, I'm going to miss out on my daughter, you know, getting a driver's license, graduating high school, graduating college, getting married, starting a family, things like that. You know, all those just pertain to my daughter. My friends, I would miss out on my friends. The fact that you and I reconnected, where I never wanted us to, this is a friendship I never wanted to fucking lose. And the carpet got swept out from underneath my feet, and I was a selfish bitch about it. But I never wanted to lose you as a friend. I told you that last night, man. I even apologized to you. You know, I apologized to you for the things that I did wrong as well, you know, because you're not, this, it takes two to tango here. It's not just one person. I did fuck up too. But I'm more afraid of missing out on things like that than I am of actually dying. You know, it's, and in the beginning of this, man, it's just, it's hard. Hard to deal with it. Really hard to deal with it.
You got everybody behind you.
You know,
and
it's,
you've been isolated.
My mom, dude, my mom, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry for shit.
The support from my mom is just unreal. I mean, my mom, it's just, I love you, Mom. I mean, just everything, just can't say it enough. It's just, the unconditional love that I've gotten from her in the past 6 months is just absolutely amazing. It really is. I mean, my family and stuff, and just, you know, it's, you know, the few people that I still talk to, because I don't talk to a lot of people these days, you know, and this is hard to even talk about it. You know, it's just, it's embarrassing. I mean, seriously, it's like, you know, everybody saw me as this type of person and stuff like that. They saw the, you know, the outer exterior of me, and I was this, and I was a hard ass and didn't take shit from anybody. But, you know, there is a very sensitive side to me. I mean, there really is. It's just, I just don't show it. Cause I just don't like, I don't like being slapped in the face for it, you know? So that only shows the people that I truly care about and stuff like that. People that truly know me know the type of person I am. But this whole experience has been gut wrenching. Everything. I mean, it's gut wrenching. It's just, you know, I can't wait to be able to go back to work. You know, how many people, I said this yesterday, you know, how many people actually, I can't wait to go back to work. I can't wait to go back to work. I mean, seriously, I haven't worked in months. I can't wait to go back to work, you know, and it's not my choice. You know, it's the side effects from the chemotherapy and shit like that. Plus safety issues, because I work in a sheet metal shop. So it's like, I, you know, had to take a step back from that and get healed. And it's like, you know, it's like that 2-step forwards, 5-step back process. That's what it is with this. It's like, you feel like you start getting better, and then the next chemotherapy treatment comes into play, and for the next week and a half, you feel like just like run over dog shit. I mean, you just have no energy for nothing. It's like, you know, you don't get irritable and angry. Like, well, I don't, but I get frustrated with what I was going through. So I wouldn't want to talk to certain people, you know, or talk to anybody really in general. I would never not want to talk to my mom, or not ever want to talk to my, you know, Pat, my boss. Guys from the shop reached out to me, and I spent hours talking to them. And what I tell you yesterday, it's like, you made my day with that conversation. Like, I was having a shitty day yesterday. I was not feeling good. Phone goes off. I hear it go off. It's a text message. Didn't even realize that a phone call came through. I saw the number. I'm like, who's that? So I checked it. And once I saw your name, dude, I just had a smile on my face. And I'm like, I just kind of like looked up at the ceiling. I'm like, so this is your plan.
It is.
This is your plan.
It's time for you to come out of isolation. It's time.
It's like, here's this guy that I haven't spoken to in 9 years. I mean, if somebody would have told me, you know, you're going to go through this whole entire situation, but when you least expect it, Dominick Izzo is going to give you a call, I would have bet $10,000, and I would have lost my ass. You know, I would have expected a couple other people in my past to have called me before you've ever called me. I just thought that was,
I would have called you sooner if I wasn't so fucking stubborn and prideful. So,
but I just felt that the grave was buried, and
oh my God. I want to see you come out, and I want to see you supported by everyone who supports you. It's funny when you talk about your mom. I met her once, and we were at the open house that we did.
Yeah.
And I paid her the compliment. I go, your mom's talking to me, and I go, I can't believe this, how beautified Lenny made this place look. And I'm giving her accolades going, your son did this and he did this and did this. She looks at me with the biggest dead fucking stare straight face and goes, yes, that's what he does. Like, how dare I like say something? She's like, she was so fucking matter of fact about knowing that whatever you touch turns to fucking gold. And she had this insane level of pride in you. So it doesn't support me at all how supportive she is.
It's amazing though. It really is.
I believe it. We have a big journey to start with you, and this is the first of many conversations to come. I am going to push you until you feel better about getting a channel back up. I'm going to put the link for your Instagram in the bio here, or the narrative here, the description. I'm going to put the link for the YouTube channel for those who are new to this. You can catch up on Lenny's old content, all of this. Support him financially and monetarily for this GoFundMe. Do it. But I want to hear your projection. If this is a spark, if this is a pebble that goes in the pond, we want to close this out by hearing, what does this do for you? You're battling something. You're not alone anymore. You've got a mission. Where are you at right now with your headspace in the last 24 hours?
Oh, wow. Okay. A lot's gone through my head in the last 24 hours. A lot. I don't even know what time I think I went to bed at 3:00 this morning because I rarely get sleep. So I think about a lot of stuff. It's enough's enough. I'm done with this cancer. Fuck cancer. It can go fuck itself. Honestly, it's up until talking to you yesterday, I didn't know where it was going. Honestly, I didn't know. I mean, obviously I pray a lot, and I'm thinking about, this Friday and the next PET scan that comes up at the end of the month. I'm praying that those are good results and whatnot. Hopefully that they're good results. That's the big thing. I hope they're good results. Because nobody gets a free pass with this shit. That's one thing I've learned about cancer. No one gets a free pass with this. I mean, it's like when you get it, you're looking for a new car, right? And you're looking around, you're driving in your car, and you don't really notice anything, and then you get this new car, and then they're all over the fucking place. How did I not notice that? They're everywhere, and that's how it is with cancer patients. They're everywhere. You just don't know. You just don't know about it. But I'm very, very optimistic. I really am. I've always been. There's been days when I've had really bad days, and I just didn't see any good outcome of this, and I do keep it in the back of my head. I can still possibly lose my life. So I don't want to sit there and say that I'm going to make this comeback and I'm going to become, 9-time Mr. Olympia winner and fucking, mega movie star. No, none of that shit. I'm not making promises like that, because the future is not promised for anybody. It's unknown for anyone, for everyone. So I don't know what the future holds for me in regards to that, but it's going to take a lot more than this to fucking stop me. It's going to take a lot more than this. My mindset it literally dawned on me, like when we got off the phone, and I'm like, so this is your plan. You took somebody out of my life for a reason, and now you're bringing them back into my life, and you didn't even know about this. No. Because when we were talking, and you were talking about the YouTube channel, I'm like, yeah, I was very apprehensive about telling you, And I told you pretty much how I told everybody in the audience today. When you're like, dude, I'm like, I don't even know how to really say this, Dominic. And you're like, dude, just fucking say it. And I'm like, I had cancer. And you were like, holy shit, dude, I'm so sorry. You know, I don't think you expected to hear that based off of your reaction.
Not at all.
You know, so I really have not spoken about this to a lot of people, you know, people that know me, you know, and stuff like that see this. Well, then we'll find out that I have this. I've been really private about this, but you're the one that pretty much inspired me to come out and talk about it with the conversation that we had. And you know, there's still people out there that I feel the need to make proud of me. There's still people out there that I need to prove to them that this isn't over. There's still people out there that are counting on me to get up before the bell rings. And then there's still people out there that are expecting me and that are counting and that are hoping for me to knock the fuck out of this thing, out of the park, and just, you know, take the bull by the horns, you know, and just, this is the beginning.
100% it is.
This is the beginning. I have not felt this good since I found out that I was diagnosed with cancer. I have not felt this good. And the spirit, you know, spiritually, I'm in a really good place spiritually. I don't really have, you know, I don't have negative thoughts like some people might, you know, it's like, fuck this, I'm going to do something stupid and I'm going to end this now. I'm not in that mindset. I'm not in that mind. I had said it a couple times, but I sure as fuck didn't mean it because of the frustration that I was going through. Because until you go through this type of experience, it's really hard I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Until you actually have a disease like this, you don't really realize you're just not as much of a badass as you think you are. This fucking has humbled me beyond belief. I mean, completely humbled me. And you know what? I'm gonna kick this in its ass. I know I am. I know it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time, but it's gonna happen. And I'm gonna come back a way better version than I ever was. Way better. I mean, again, if somebody would have betted me and would have said, you're going to be so much of a better person after this, I would have looked at them like, you're really? You got to remember, there's still that alter ego that's brewing in the back of my head that's like, you know, break glass in case of emergency. You know, Lenny needs to come out and fucking do a crazy YouTube video and rip everyone's head off and let everybody know how much their shit sucks and how this, that, whatever is better or whatever. That person's still there. But as I said, that's a alter ego that I would kind of melt into when I would do YouTube videos, you know, but dude, it's really made me look at things so much more different in a much different perspective. And, you know, I'm stubborn in a lot of ways. I mean, you know that. I mean, I don't need to tell you that, but I'm stubborn in a lot of ways. And it's, it takes a while for me to give in. You know, but now it's like, I don't really even care. I don't care who's right. I don't care who's wrong. There's much better things to life than being angry and pissed off at people and getting in fights with people about stupid shit or arguments about, you know, he said, she said, or whatever. There's so much more to life than that. And it's the life that I don't want to live anymore. I'm tired of drama. I'm tired of all the bullshit. I mean, YouTube, different story. Okay. That's for entertainment purposes, but you know, personal life drama, I'm like just tired of all that shit. It's like I don't need to walk around and be a jagoff all the time. You know, I don't need to be that person, you know, and for the past several years I was cultivated into that person, so to speak. And so I was very unhappy. But now it's like, thanks to you, Dominic, and thanks to God, because he made that happen. Because it's like I said, it's like Sunday I was talking to one of my students about you, and I talked to him last night, and he was like, you got to be shitting me. We were just talking about Dominic yesterday. I go, yeah, that's why I'm telling you about this. I'm just like, dude, this is crazy that 9 years you know, and you're a better man than I am, dude, because it's like, I commented on the video that you made about me and never got a response. I'm like, okay, he's still mad. So I pretty much thought it was over. And then like when I saw your name, it's like, dude, it's like it just gave me.
You're just as big. You picked up the phone and you called back. There's no difference between.
Well, I knew I had to, honestly, because when I saw your name, I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't call me for anything. I mean, ever. It's like, I'm like, yeah, I was extremely curious. I was like, okay, you know, what's up, you know, and I didn't know how the phone conversation was going to go, but I just rolled the dice and took the chance and said, fuck it. What do I have left to lose? I've lost everything.
Nothing. You have a ton of shit to gain now, and that's what we're going to
do. You know, this has just been, it's like a rebirth type of thing. It's like I was telling my boss earlier this morning, it's like I feel really good today. And it all started with yesterday because of what happened with you and just, you know, I mean, I don't feel like what I felt like 6 months ago. Okay. But considering what I've been going through, I feel normal for once. Even though I know it's not gone, I feel normal. Like I feel good.
That's important. That's important. You can't, energy is everything. And that's the whole point for getting you exposure again to an older audience, a new audience, people who knew you, people who don't know you, the people who are going to be like, okay, who's this guy battling this? And then they see your old stuff and, oh my God, now they're going to pull behind you. Energy is everything. And if you have a negative state, it's going to wind up affecting your health. So this is the whole, let's get you out in front of people again. Let's get people going, oh my God, I give a shit. We want to see them help. It's as simple as that. This is the first of one. We're gonna end this, and we're gonna keep going with some other stuff in the future. But I want to call to action. I want people to know how they can find you, how they can support you, all that stuff. We have the GoFundMe in the description. I'm gonna put the links for all of Lenny's contact at the beginning. But how do you want to close this out? What do you want people to know?
I'll be back.
If it's as simple as that, then it's as
simple as that.
There you go. Glad to have you back. Glad to talk to you again publicly. Yeah, this is fucking nice, and it is nice.
Yeah,
and
thank you, Dominick.
Thank you. You're just as pleasantly guilty in the bridging of this again, almost 10 years later.
I needed this, though. You know what I'm saying?
Too.
It's like
I did too.
I needed this, and I didn't expect it coming. I never saw this coming in a million years, but I truly needed this because that was not to keep this going, but it's just, this was unfinished business between you and I. And this is something that I never wanted to end up the way that it did. And the fact that there's a second chance for this and that
it's the next fucking book, not the next chapter, the next
chapter.
book. And we're fucking gonna, and it's it. My guys who support this shit, you need to support Lenny, and we need to get him to the next stage. And I'm very, very, very excited to see what's going to happen for you on that. So we got
I have all kinds of ideas now, man. I have all kinds of ideas for stuff, and it's just I just got to be able to see. I don't want to go back to YouTube doing shitty videos, because of what I have going on in my life.
You do whatever you want. You could use Instagram, make your Instagram public. That's your first step. And then go to YouTube, and you know what? It's time to just build your audience. You're going to reinvent and find the next stage of what that is so people give a shit about you and they can connect with you. And we're going to do that. That's it. Yeah. There you go. Guys, Lenny will be back on our channel, on his channel, a lot of stuff. Support. There's many ways in the description, and I fully expect you to support this man, especially after all the shit he's done for you. And I will see you, as will Lenny, on the next video.